You think it's just your age. You look in the mirror in the morning, feel that invisible weight on your shoulders, and tell yourself you're just tired from a lifetime of hard work. You think not having the energy to play with your grandkids or falling asleep on the couch right after dinner is just the natural process of getting older. But what if I told you your body might be screaming for help? There is a silent warning, a red light on your body's dashboard that, if ignored today, could irreversibly change your life in the coming months. We are not talking about a sudden heart attack. We are talking about a slow poison. Hello, I'm Dr. Michael. Welcome back to our observation room. Today, I have to tell you the story of Grace Thompson. Grace is 52 years old, and she came into my ER on a late Tuesday afternoon. It was pouring rain outside, and the hospital was in pure chaos. But when I looked at Grace sitting on the examination table, she seemed to be in a world of her own. She wasn't clutching her chest in pain. She wasn't bleeding. She was, in her own words, absolutely drained, exhausted to her bones. She looked at me with a faint smile and apologized for wasting my time. She said, "Doctor, the work at the office is destroying me. The stress is just too high. I just need some strong vitamins to get back to normal. You know how it is. I'm past 50. I've heard this exact phrase thousands of times in my career. The dangerous trap of blaming everything on our age. But as a doctor, we are trained to look beyond the obvious. Normal tiredness gets better with a good night's sleep." Grace's exhaustion hadn't improved in months. And when I started asking the right questions, the clinical picture shifted from work stress to a silent emergency. Grace didn't need vitamins. She was walking, blindfolded, into the abyss of a disease that silently destroys the kidneys, the vision, and the nerves of millions of people worldwide: prediabetes. The first silent sign that Grace ignored for almost a year was extreme and sudden fatigue after meals. She told me that, about 30 minutes after eating lunch, she felt a mental fog so thick she could barely keep her eyes open in front of her computer. She thought it was normal to feel that heavy sleepiness. She thought it was just digestion. But it wasn't a normal sleep. It was a severe system failure. Let me explain what was happening inside Grace's veins. When we eat, our body turns food into glucose, which is sugar, our primary source of energy. The pancreas releases insulin, which acts like a key. The function of this key is to unlock the doors of our cells to let the energy in. But in Grace's case, due to years of minor indulgences and a sedentary lifestyle, the locks on her cells were rusted. The doors wouldn't open. We call this insulin resistance. Her pancreas was desperately pumping out insulin, but the sugar couldn't get into the cells. It was trapped in the bloodstream. The result? Grace's cells were literally starving to death, completely deprived of energy, while her blood became thick and saturated with toxic sugar. This is why your eyes feel so incredibly heavy after eating a meal rich in carbohydrates. Your body is temporarily shutting down because the energy just isn't getting to where it needs to be. The second silent sign was stealing her nights of rest. The constant, uncontrollable urge to urinate in the middle of the night. Grace told me she was waking up 3 to 4 times a night. She blamed the chamomile tea she drank before bed to try and relax. Once again, a perfectly logical excuse to hide a terrifying problem. The medical truth was much darker. Remember when I said Grace's blood was full of sugar that couldn't get into her cells? Our body is an incredibly smart survival machine. When blood sugar reaches toxic levels, your kidneys go into a state of absolute panic. The kidneys are the body's great filters. When they detect this massive excess of sugar, they go into overdrive, pulling water from your tissues to try and dilute that sugar and flush it out through your urine. It's an emergency defense mechanism. If you are waking up multiple times a night to go to the bathroom, and you spend the next day with a dry mouth and a thirst that water just can't quench, your kidneys might be in a desperate fight to save your life, trying to cleanse your blood of a sweet poison. But it was the third sign that made me order emergency blood tests that very day. While I was examining her with my stethoscope, I noticed a dark, thick, velvety patch on the back of her neck. I asked her about it. Grace blushed with embarrassment. She told me she had been trying to scrub it off in the shower with a harsh sponge for weeks, thinking it was built-up dirt or spots caused by sun exposure and aging. She had even bought lightening creams at the pharmacy. This is perhaps the most frightening, misunderstood, and ignored physical sign of all. In medicine, we call it acanthosis nigricans, and it has absolutely nothing to do with poor hygiene. Remember Grace's pancreas, which was producing industrial amounts of insulin to try and force the sugar into her cells? That chronic excess of circulating insulin acts as a fertilizer for the skin. It causes certain cells to reproduce very quickly, creating these dark plaques, which can appear on the neck, the armpits, or the groin. When I saw that neck, I didn't even need to see the lab results to know the diagnosis. Her body was already printing the results on her own skin. The blood tests came back an hour later. They confirmed my fear. Grace's A1C level, which shows us the average blood sugar over the last 3 months, was at the dangerous limit. She was in the red zone. A few more months of blaming her, quote, and stress, and she would have crossed the invisible line. She would be a type 2 diabetic for the rest of her life, dependent on medication, with increased risks of blindness, amputations, and heart attacks. I sat down with her and explained all of this. There were tears, there was fear, but here is the true beauty of medicine and the resilience of the human body. Prediabetes is a fire alarm. It is not the house already reduced to ashes. It is a screaming warning from your body saying, we still have time to change course. It is a completely reversible condition. I didn't prescribe her vitamins, I prescribed her knowledge. Today, 6 months after that night in the ER, Grace changed her story. She didn't go on crazy crash diets. She just cut out liquid sugars, ditched the white breads, and started walking for 30 minutes a day after lunch to help her muscles naturally absorb that sugar. Last week I received her new lab results. Her glucose levels are back to those of a healthy woman. Her energy has returned, the sleepless nights are over, and the dark patch on her neck, it completely disappeared. If you are over 50, if you feel this profound exhaustion, if you are making nightly trips to the bathroom, or if you've noticed changes in your skin, please, don't be like Grace before she walked into the ER. Don't lie to yourself saying it's just your age weighing you down. Your body is trying to talk to you, listen to it. Ask your doctor for a simple routine blood test. Ask them to check your fasting glucose and your A1C. It takes 5 minutes, and it can literally save your quality of life and your future. If this story resonated with you, if it helped you understand your own body better, leave a like and share this video with someone who might be ignoring these exact same signs. Subscribe to the channel so we can continue to uncover the medical truths no one else is telling you. I am Dr. Michael. Take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next episode.